This tutorial is about adding different materials to a course. So first you want to go into the course where you want those materials added by selecting from the courses menu. This course already has a bunch of materials added as examples, but I'm going to show you how to add new materials. So you go to the Add Materials button and the drop-down arrow, and we're going to start by showing how to add a folder. So simply click Add Folder. You can put a title on your folder. If you think your folder needs a further description, you can add that there. This is a sample folder. Maybe it's got a deadline there, maybe it's got a description of what students need to do. You can decide how you want to use that description. You do not have to have a description in there, however. If you want to add a date to when this folder is open and a date to when the folder closes, you can do that here. And if you want to make it hidden to students, you can do that as an option under availability. And you can make it available depending on which dates you chose for that date up above. But I'm just going to create it simply by adding a title and description. Hit Create. And it adds that folder to the bottom of my folder list. Here's my sample folder. Now let's say this sample folder isn't in a place where I like it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it and I'm going to drag it to the place where I want it. So I want it to be up in here. Try that one more time. There we go. You want to get a little gray box for it so that you have an actual place to put it, and then drop it in, and that will work. As long as I'm here, I might as well show you that these little arrows to the side, if you click on them, it shows you what's in that folder. Right now there's nothing inside my sample folder. It tells you my folder is empty. But these other folders have links and assignments and things in them, which you can see with the arrow pointing down. I'm going to put it the other way again so that doesn't show up right now. So here's my sample folder. From here I have this gear that I can edit my folder directly from. So I can change all those things I originally set it up with. I can copy it to different courses if I want to use that same folder in different places. I can save it to my resources. I can delete the folder. And then I can also move the folder to a different unit if I'd like to. So put it in a different folder, for example. So that's another way to move it. I like to drag the folders. I think it works a little bit easier. Another way to insert a new folder is by simply hovering over one of these lines that are separating my folder, or if you don't have any folders right now, the first line. It turns green and it gets that little plus icon on it. Click on that and you can add a folder directly there. So those folders can be added in two ways, through the materials or through the green line. You could also import a resource from your personal resources directly in this way as well, or you can import resources like this. So I'm going to show you how to do that next. So let's say I want to put a resource that I've already saved in my personal resources into my class. I'm going to import that resource by clicking on the green line. It's loading up all my personal resources now. Okay, I'm going to look in my English 8 file box. I don't have any personal resources in that file box right now, but if I did, they would show up and I would be able to click on them and then hit import into my English 8 box, or into my course that I wanted to take it from the English 8 box for. So you can directly on this first page, as I said, import two things, or add two things, a folder or importing a resource. Once you have a folder, and I'm going to go back to the sample folder, then you can start putting some other things in that sample folder. So I'm just clicking on my sample folder, and I again have that Add Materials box. So in that Add Materials box, I have some other choices. I could create another folder, which is at the top of this list. I could create a folder within a folder. I could, again, import from resources, so from my personal resources. I want to show you some different ones as well. So another material you can add in your folder is a page, or what they call a text block. And that is basically just written information that you want to hand out to your students so that they have maybe instructions for something they need to do. Again, you just give it a title, type it out using all the word formatting you want. You can embed a picture or a video right in here, a link to a website. You can also link a file, link a website, add a resource, audio and video recording, learning objectives, make it visible or invisible to students, and display it on a new page. So once you've got that ready to go, you just hit create and it'll be off and running. I'm just going to make a sample for you so you can see what this looks like. Sample text. And there it is. And when you'd click on that as a student, you'd see whatever it is that you had typed there. So that's an example there. I'm going to go back to the folder itself, so I'm still in the sample folder. Okay, let's look at something else we could add from our materials. Another easy one to add is a file, a link, or an external tool. So when you click on that, you get the options that it was listed. The file is the first one. So if you have a file on your computer that you want to add to the course, you simply attach it. Decide if it's aligned to any learning objectives, if you want it visible or invisible to students, and then hit add. If you want to add a link to a website, you would hit this link. You type in the URL, so www.smm.org. It's the website for the Science Museum of Minnesota. So I'm going to write the Science Museum of Minnesota. Again, you have some choices: learning objectives, display in Schoology, visible to students, and then add. And that will show up as a link for the students, looking like that. And then finally, the external tool. We'll talk about that in a different tutorial. If you're interested in adding one of those, that'll be a separate piece. Okay, finally, the last material we're going to add in this video, another fairly straightforward one, is a media album. So when you click on Add Media Album, you have a lot of the same options: a title, a description, and all of these. And you might want to think about, well, how would I use a media album first? So a media album is a place where students and teachers can put photos they've taken, videos they've taken, photos or videos they found, and put them all into this album so that everybody can share them. So I'm going to create a sample photo album. I'm not going to put a description on there for now. I'm going to hit create. I could upload media to that right away. So if I want to, I'm going to attach a file here. We'll do the beans again from the course. So it's loading that into the photo album to begin with. I could do more right away, but I'm done, so I'm going to hit cancel. Okay, so this sample photo album is going to allow you to add media as a student here. Again, the same window that you can see. You can edit your media and your information from here, copy it to another course, save to resources, or delete the whole album here. So there are different choices when you get into that. Just want to show you on these other ones, these little drop-down gears allow you those same options along with saving to resources. So any of these can be edited once they're made, they can be deleted, they can be moved around however you want. You can move these in the same way as you would the folders that I talked about earlier, just by clicking and dragging. You can also add new resources by clicking on this little green line again, and you see all the options for resources to add because we're within a folder. So just a reminder of how we started this. You start with your course by making a folder, for example, the sample folder. The only two things you can make from the homepage of your course is a folder or import from resources. That folder can be edited with a little gear icon on the side. Once you're in a folder, you have more options for resources to add. I went through the file link or external tool, the text block, and the media album, and then of course import from resources. The other materials to add will be covered in separate tutorials.